What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing good and having an amazing day. Now in today's video, I'm going to give you guys a full tour of my brand new house. So if you guys remember, in about June of last year, I started seriously looking into the property market. And because of how the market's been over the last couple of years, there's not actually a lot for sale on the market. So partly for this reason, I ended up going for a new build property. And I actually got really lucky and managed to scoop this one up days after it went on sale. So since then, I've basically just been waiting for the property to be built. So just for a bit of context, before we get looking at the property itself, I bought a 3-bedroom terraced house and the list price was £335,000. Also, I have literally just moved in, so it is a bit of a mess and there's a lot of furniture that just isn't where it should be and lots of gaps. But I thought it would be interesting to show you guys pretty much what the house looked like as I got it. So I think what I'll do is I'll release a part 2 once I've got everything a bit more sorted and it's more fully furnished. Now just before we get into it, please do me a massive favour and smash that like button down below, as it really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you are new around here, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and click that bell so you never miss a video. But with all that being said, let's get into it. Okay, so just through the front door, here we are into, I guess it's called the entrance hall, which is probably a bit of an over-the-top name for it, but I guess that's what it is. And there isn't really a huge amount going on here. So we have access to the downstairs toilet, access to upstairs with a staircase there, and then a door to the living area and kitchen. On the front door, there's this frosted tint, which is quite nice as it gives quite a bit of privacy from the street. Something else I quite like about this entrance space is that there's quite a lot of room as you come in to the left. So I could quite easily build a nice coat rack or cupboard, as well as a shoe rack on the floor, to basically utilise the space in the best way to get some good storage out of it. Something else to note in here, which is pretty annoying, is that the builders actually decided to put the fuse box in here. And what's annoying about it is it wasn't actually supposed to be here. It was supposed to be discreet in a cupboard under the stairs, but actually when they started building it, they realised there wasn't space for it. So they ended up putting it here without my agreement. So that was a bit of an argument with the builders. And originally when they installed it, it actually stuck out about double what it is now. So rather than getting them to rewire the whole house, we came to a compromise and they just recessed it into the wall a bit so that I can still have decent hanging space and the door to the downstairs toilet can open freely, which when they first installed it was a bit of an issue. And because it is recessed in, I can cover it quite easily with some sort of joinery if I want to in the future. So then off the entrance hall, the first door you come to is the downstairs toilet. I had quite a bit of fun with this room when I was picking the tiles, so I tried to make it a bit different from the rest of the house and almost a bit over the top in terms of how ornate it is. So I picked this quite wacky tile for the flooring and then a complementary coloured tile for the backsplash. And my plan for this is to just have a bit of fun with it, trying to make it a bit over the top. So I've hung up this painting which I thought would be quite fun, just to kind of play on that theme. And I actually think it looks quite good. The gold frame doesn't tie in perfectly, but I still think it kind of works. So obviously there's no windows in this room, but my plan is to just add a few plastic plants to sort of brighten it up a bit. So I've got one that sort of hangs down over the tiles, and I'm getting another one that's more upright to fill the space next to the painting. Because actually when you look at it, the painting is off centre from the centre of the wall, because I opted to line it up with the toilet rather than the wall. And I think when I've got the plants in there, it will balance it out quite nicely. So next to the toilet, we then have the staircase which leads up to the second floor, which we'll take a look at in a bit. But first we're going to check out the rest of the downstairs with the open plan living space and the garden. So then here we are into the living room, which is honestly my favourite part of the entire house. So it's completely open plan with the kitchen, dining and living space, and it has these big French doors which open up onto the south facing garden. So there's loads of natural light flooding in throughout most of the day. Now as you can probably tell, I've pretty much just moved in, so everything's a complete mess in here and there's not really a lot of furniture. So all I've really done in here so far is set up a makeshift desk so that I can work from home for my day job. So that was just the cheapest IKEA desk I could find, which actually seems pretty decent, and it was only about £40. And this desk will eventually be moving upstairs to my office when I've got that finished. But at the moment it just makes sense to have it down here while I wait for my furniture to arrive. The other furniture I've got in here are just some chairs which were actually given to me free from my office because they were just getting rid of them. And that's the same story with the IKEA shelf unit. So it's not the nicest thing ever, but it's actually really practical for the time being. So my plan for the living space is to basically make it as comfortable as possible. Obviously it's a complete mess at the moment and there's lots of things I'm waiting for, but the most important thing is the sofa. So I've got a massive sofa on order which will hopefully be coming in the next couple of weeks, but I found one that was the perfect size to basically fill the entirety of this space. And obviously when that arrives I'll have to reshuffle a lot of the furniture. Once the sofa arrives, I'm also going to get some nice curtains to cover the front window as that faces straight onto the street. So just for a bit of privacy, I decided to get a really oversized TV to basically fill the entire wall. If I got something smaller, I feel it would have been necessary to find other things as well to sort of fill the space around it. But having something that fills up basically the entire wall, I think works a lot better. And it's a nice luxury that I'm not really used to, as I don't really watch a lot of TV. Something that's quite cool is that the house came wired with this media plate and what's called a sync box. And the purpose of it is to basically allow you to plug in all of your TV paraphernalia in a lower cabinet, and then all the cables feed up through the wall into the TV. So you can have the TV mounted on the wall without seeing any cables. And the location of this media plate, I actually had to get the builders to relocate because originally they were going to put it on the opposite wall. And I just thought from the size of the space and in terms of getting appropriate furniture, it made far more sense to have it on that wall. And then I could have a big corner sofa to fill the space opposite. Whereas if it was on the other wall, it'd be quite awkward to try and find appropriate furniture for the space because it really isn't a huge living area. So with this property, the heating system is all gas powered, and downstairs, instead of having radiators everywhere, it's actually all underfloor heating. So because it is underfloor heating, I opted to go for a porcelain tile finish for the flooring, which is consistent throughout the entire downstairs. Originally I was looking at laminate finishes as I wanted something that was like a natural wood colour, but then I stumbled across this tile which I just thought looked really good as it comes in these larger sized planks, which I just think makes it look a lot nicer. And in my eyes, the added benefit of having porcelain tile over laminate is that it's a lot easier to keep clean. And I think it made sense to do this as it extends throughout the kitchen as well. So in the kitchen, the first thing to notice is the cupboard under the stairs. And so in here, it has all of the systems for the underfloor heating and the internet. And so this property actually came with fibre optic internet to the door, which is really good. And I'm basically using this cupboard as just storage space for cleaning things. So I've got the standard of broom, mop and hoovers. And then we have the rest of the kitchen, which I honestly think turned out great. I went for a grey wood finish on all the cabinets with these slightly contemporary stainless steel handles, which I think work really well together. And then for the countertops, I've got this sort of concrete effect, but it's actually just a veneer finish. But I'm really happy with it, and I don't think it would have been worth it at all having to pay about £3,000 extra to get a natural stone finish. In the kitchen, all of the included appliances are all Neff. So we've got a Neff cooker, hob and extractor, as well as built-in washing machine, dishwasher and fridge freezer. All of the other worktop appliances are things I've added myself. And the one I can't live without is the Sage Barista Express coffee machine. It seems like a ridiculous expense, but I bought this on Black Friday during a deal, so it didn't actually cost that much. And also, if you drink a lot of coffee and take care of the machine, it actually works out cheaper in the long run compared to a pod machine, and especially compared to buying takeaway coffees from places like Starbucks and Costa. There's not really a lot more to say about the kitchen, but I think the build quality is really quite decent. And all of the cabinets and drawers come with a soft close system, which is nice. So then just off the kitchen and living area, we're going to have what's going to be the dining space. So I still need to buy a nice table and set of chairs. But I just haven't got around to that yet, as all of these expenses do add up. But I think this will be a really nice space once I've got it sorted, because like I said, it is south facing, so the light pretty much pours in all day. And natural light is one of those things that you just can't beat. In terms of the interior design and style that I want to go for in this downstairs space, I want to keep it modern and clean with a bit of inspiration from Japanese style. So I'm really into wood panelling on the wall, which I think could be quite cool. And I'm thinking it might be nice to have lots of modern wooden furniture as well, all with a walnut finish, as I think that would complement the flooring quite nicely. And also keep the space nice and warm while adding a bit of extra depth. And then for the dining table, I'm considering a glass tabletop, just because it's really practical and easy to keep clean. So then from the dining space, through the double doors, we go out onto the patio and garden. So the patio's got a nice sandstone finish and it spans out about 3 meters from the door and covers the width of the property. So it's a really decent sized space and I'll be able to fit things like an outdoor sofa, outdoor dining set and barbecue. And again, because it's south facing, it'll be pretty much in the sun throughout the majority of the day. Included on the patio is an outdoor tap and outdoor waterproof socket, as well as the complimentary garden shed, which is nice. And then leading out from the patio, there's a little side gate, which gives me access to my private parking spaces. And then coming back, we have the rest of the garden, which is all just turfed over as standard. So I'm actually quite looking forward to designing the space and turning it into something that's a bit more desirable. One of the reasons that I picked this particular property was because of the south-facing garden and actually the size of the garden, because it is a lot bigger than the gardens you get with most new build properties. And also sometimes they're quite awkwardly shaped. But I think this gives me the best of everything and gives me a lot of options going forward. So I've already got an idea in my head that I'm going to turn the far end of the garden into a garden office, spanning across the whole width, so it can double up as an office, spare room and garden shed. Alright, so now we come to the upstairs. So just at the top of the stairs we have the landing, and there's not really a huge amount going on here. It's just sort of the space between the bedrooms. But there's a nice window overlooking the garden, an airing cupboard with a hot water tank, and a drop-down ladder to get access to the loft space above. So here we have the first bedroom, which is eventually going to be my office. It is quite a small room and only really has space for one single bed, so it seems like the perfect space to turn into an office. At the moment it is a bit of a mess and I'm just really using it as a storage room, but eventually once I've got everything set up downstairs, I'll start to move my office equipment up here. And hopefully I'll be able to turn it into quite a nice little studio space as well for filming videos. Then we come to the second bedroom, which is a lot bigger and has space for a full-size double bed, wardrobe, desk, whatever else you might need. I have got a double bed and mattress in here, so in case anyone comes to stay over, there is somewhere to sleep. But honestly, I got both of these free from colleagues at work who were just getting rid of them. And it's not the best combination ever because the mattress is actually slightly too small for the bed, but it's kind of perfect for what I need at the moment in case someone does come to stay over. Because I don't really want to be spending a lot of money furnishing a room nicely that I'm not really going to be using on a day-to-day basis. If I do start renting this room out though, I will have to furnish it properly. And then also in this room we have quite a large cupboard which goes over the stairs, so that's why it's got such a weird shape. But it is quite big and has some good storage space, and I could easily fit a bar in there and turn it into a space that functions somewhat like a wardrobe. Then we have the shared bathroom, which I honestly think turned out really well. A lot of the tiles that I had to choose from were very grey, and I tried to go for something that was a little bit warmer. So in here we've just got a standard sink, toilet, full-size towel rail, which is great, and then we have the bath and shower. So as standard, this shower fixture wouldn't actually be like this. So instead there'd be 2 tiles high, no shower screen, and no overhead shower. But I thought for the purposes of potentially renting out a room, and if anyone ever comes to stay, it's not really fair to expect someone to use a bath, as most people take showers every day just because it's so much quicker and easier. So even though it was a £1,500 extra, I think the added value was worth it. And then finally we have the master bedroom. So this room is quite a bit larger than the other two, even though it is a little bit of an odd shape, but the space actually seems really quite functional, and I really like that it has this extra alcove by the door, which will be perfect for additional storage space like a built-in wardrobe or maybe a chest of drawers. It also came included with this built-in wardrobe, which gives me loads of hanging space. And then for the bed, I just bought a cheap IKEA bed and mattress, which I honestly think are fine, and I'm really not too fussy when it comes to mattresses. But eventually, if I do want to upgrade, I can always just put this mattress in the spare room to replace the one that doesn't actually fit the bed. And so finally, within the master bedroom, we have the ensuite. I went for a dark tile in this bathroom, and my general plan is to try and make it similar to a bathroom you might find in a resort in Bali. So a dark atmosphere with lots of green plants to warm it up, as well as some natural wood panelling. But at the moment, this isn't really a priority, so I'm just keeping it as it is. What's really good is that the ensuite came with this floating vanity unit, which will provide lots of storage space, and the shower is honestly much bigger than I was expecting. I opted to pay extra to get a rain head shower, which I think was totally worth it because a shower is something you use every day, so in my opinion it is worth spending a little bit of extra money on just to make it as good as it can be. So there we have it. That basically covers everything for today, guys. But I'd love to know what you guys think of it. What do you think of my choices of tiles and kitchen colour and whatnot? Do you think it seems like good value for money? Or do you think I made a huge mistake and the housing market's about to plummet? Either way, I'd love to know your thoughts, so just let me know down below in the comments. Also, if you have any questions or feedback for me, just drop them down below as well, and I'll make sure to respond to all of you. In a separate video, I'm going to break down all of the costs, so I'll show you guys exactly what this house has cost me. So that will cover everything from legal fees, mortgage advisor fees, interior extras, and anything else that cropped up along the way. So if that is something that would interest you, and you'd like to know exactly how much it costs to buy a new build property, just make sure to stay tuned, so hit that subscribe button down below and click that bell so you never miss a video. And if you did enjoy the video, please do me a massive favour and smash that like button down below, as it does really help me out with the YouTube algorithm. But with all of that being said, take it easy guys and keep saving.